Hello, here is our CSCI 340 database. As a first week lecture, so far we will it still will be just an introduction. We talk about what's the data. So let's move on. Okay, about this one. So this one mainly talk about like what's the data. Okay, so that's what we care about. So why we like as a humankind, why we interested about the data. Okay, maybe we talk about some like in ancient time. Okay, and then how does the data need like some historical like driven. So maybe there's many information technology developments. Okay, even nowadays, even like maybe in the old time, okay, so we maybe try to um written on the paper, okay, and then when we move on to technology, then how can we save it? Okay, so we talk about it and all those like evolution of the data storage media like change. This like the background introduce. Okay, so once we know, then we will know why we will have that called a database, and then based on the database, and then what's the as a follow-up, like what kind of application, what can we use. Okay, and so far for this chapter, just like talk about some like idea of data. So as I like corporate resources, then we can be like used to gain a competitive like, advantage to develop the development of database management system. Okay, environment. So far, this is like what we're going to learn. Okay, so it's a first keyword, data. Okay, so what's the data? So it's kind of like the foundation of technological like activities. So anything, if we taking a example of the e-commerce. Okay, e-commerce. So everything of data, maybe the like the user, then their names, address, phone number, email, like all this, right? Okay, maybe we have some products. Okay, product name, and then manufacturer. Okay, so maybe if they're food, okay, ingredients, all this. So they are all data. Okay, and database will be the like highly like organized collection of those assigned data. So this is called a database. Okay. And when we move on, okay, then what's the database managed system? So it's a sophisticated software. So then we can like control the database, and then we can manage the other database environment. If we do ask a question, you can think about it. Okay. So maybe we have another terms of explanation. Okay, data. Okay, or sometimes we ask like, what's data? What's the information? Right? Well, what's the knowledge? Sometimes we ask about this question. So as a data itself, just maybe some like number, letters. Okay, um, it shows the fact. Okay, so it doesn't comes out. Then after we organize, like save in the database. Okay, try to present have some organization. Then they can be the information. Okay, present. Okay, then we need the system to manage it. And slightly more. So when we talk about the data, so they are single pieces of data. So a single fact, we'll say about something. So it's interest as that's what we say. Okay, so a fact can be any like characteristic of an object. Here's one of the example. Maybe we have the salesperson number, or like we have the user ID. Okay, so the unique ID, and of course name, maybe which city, which state they're from. Okay, so all these will be the data. Okay, so it's the fact. Okay, that we're going to store. Really long time ago. Okay, it's a 12,000 years ago. So already like interest about the data that we know. At that time, we have some like non-computer primitive methods of the data storage or handle. So once we do have like human activity, suppose we have some like data generated. Okay, then how can we being like save them? Okay, and able to like convert them to information. Here's one of the history of the data. So right here, so how can they, let's say, if they can um, keep like track of their like flocks over like the peoples, okay, like this, or the primitive like the legitimate example of data storage, and which for like this. So it can be um even a long time ago, and then putting back, or somehow like dating back like 8005 BC. Okay, and there's like three tokens like that. So they're like counters. They can use it to record keeping some primitive forms of accounting. If lot of data, let's say how can we say the cash or money? Okay, so those like token. Okay, how can they like keep it as for accounting? So even in our nowadays like keeping for business like accounting, so we will just like save in different format. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so far like over through the age, so we kind of like called the record keeping. So those are just recording all those data to keep track. Okay, so maybe how much a person produce, or like what can be like purchase or like so for. Okay, um like with sometimes with the time, so okay, maybe we have different kind of data, like we get more. Okay, let's say the calendar such as data such as race, okay, lanes on all these, like you see all the activity we generate data and save it. And so far maybe we will have something called double entry like bookkeeping, so for accounting. So originate in the like trading center, and then it also is the earliest like no example. Okay, it's from a merchant. Okay, so right here, and then once we talk about like we have the data, then we have some like problem, and then next about the calculating device. So we're interested in some device that can like automatically like process their data. So we think about it. Okay. So how can you like when it's Pascal and produce a correct acting machine? Okay, so it can be an early version. So we talk about like today's mechanical like automobile like odometer. So it will be like this. And the most I say closer or like maybe popular if you know. So we call the punch card. Okay, so these are really the key and important um I say the stage like invented in 1805. So it's Joseph Marine. Okay, right here. So this method like try to storing some like fabric patterns. So it's kind of like a form of like graphic data. So they try to just like make a hole, okay, in the patch card. So it's really clear, I mean, for the data storage. So here's the idea. So also it's like for the computing device to follow. So it's a really beginning. So if you're learning some like computer history, and then you see with the punch card and with a really big device, okay, and then using the punch card to store the data. And maybe keep going, and then maybe like 1880. So the US so it took some like 7 years to comply by hand, and then basically the his work. So later like of the punch card concept. So later the Herman. Okay, so also arrange the service data stored in punch card. So they are that's why we say that okay, we based on base card, then we have some like invent the machinery to build them. So this is talking and keep going, and then in 1896, so it formed the like turbulent machine company, okay, pontoon and commercial market. So this one will become the IBM. So slightly the history of it. And then the James Sparrow also develop a device so to automatically feed card into the equipment and to automatically print result. You will see in this stage they are still not yet digital, like everything still physically. Okay, so saving it. Okay, so just knowing some like quickly go through all this history. So you will see. And then really kind of like move on to the mid of 1950. Okay, so here's a great change. So we will um knowing more about like okay, it's a really introduction of electronic computers at the time. So we really like witnessed a boom like economic like development. So really start from this point like onward. So it's like virtually like impossible to tie advanced in computing device to specific and then map the data storage and retrieval needs. So really start from this time. And in modern data storage right now, like of course when we talk about the punch paper tape, okay, in the earliest form, so it's still is the modern data storage. So kind of between the 8070, 8080. And we say the punch card. So would be the like at the time only the data storage media like using. Then but it will like increasingly like sophisticated like electronic code like accounting machine. So later start 1920, 30, 40 like this. So they're using. And in the late like 1930, so we saw beginning of like the irreversible like magnetic storage media. So we see kind of like not physically like the punch card. Okay. Of course, we have physical device, but the way they storage is not the same. Okay. And then 40, so then using the magnetic tape to like record the data. Maybe you have no idea what's the magnetic tape really like trace back. So if you do have a chance to see like what those like magnetic tape looks like, and then some like several companies so start to develop their like magnetic tape concept for commercial use beginning like 1950. So you see all these will try to develop some media for storing it, and really start from 1952, then the magnetic tape really commercially available, so everybody can um like use it. Okay, and then we have some like direct access magnetic device, so also like began to develop at MIT. So in the late 1930, 40, so within that time, and then we have the magnetic drum. Okay, and also we have the magnetic disk. And later, then you will see another term is a CD. Okay, so maybe you have like call it like compact disc, so CD. So it introduced like around 1985. So they really change. And then later we have the solid state technology. That is the flash drive, like using USB, all these. Okay. So far, we talk about the media for storing and the history. Like once we have the human activity or the activity that we generate data, okay, then what's the advantage like we keeping those data so it become like indispensable like to every kind of like modern business and government organization, even to us too. Okay, so the data like the application that like process the data and then computer on which the application, so they are one fundamental like to every aspect, every kind of the end of it. Okay, so like this. And also data we say is a cooperate resources. So it's like possibly the most like, important corporate resources, you know. So it can give some company some like crucial competitive advantage. Um, Usually all the company they will generate different type of reports, right? Analyze. So right here they say maybe FedEx. So they have a significant like competitive advantage. So they first provide access to its package tracking data like, on its website. So if you know the like the tracking, this really is a good example because we always talk about FedEx. So you think okay, we have the tracking number is really common, right? We say we should have a tracking number, but really like when FedEx like as the first one like introduced, the first one provide to track it, then that means like in every warehouse and then maybe every stops, so they will update the latest like location. So the client sender, okay, receiver can check where is the package is. Okay, so that's a really huge change. And then we started thinking, okay, so it's getting like more difficult to store and also provide some like efficient, accurate access to communicate data. Actually, when we started like the data size is going higher, and then we see the volume itself. So it's really massive, right? Every day. So for example, a Walmart, so it can estimate like if the data warehouse contain like 100 of terabytes, a trillion of characters of data. Okay. And especially we say we move to a new stage is a AI based way. So in every second, we cannot imagine how many data being like generated safe. Okay, so here's a really a problem when it's storing and then how can we access it faster? And as a follow later, we will learn about like, okay, if we maybe when we're doing exercise assignment, it's just a small pieces of data, but in reality, when you're working for a company, okay, so you need to consider when you design the database, okay, so how many data are going to be stored in, okay, and then maybe if you are international internationally, then how can you manage it? So later we're going to be covered that lecture. So right here, so also like more number ones that we call talk about SS. First, like internally employees, externally customer, or like we have some like training partners cooperating together. So all these we access to the data, or then as a follow, we have some additional issue to like how can we protect the data. So we need to the security, some privacy, backup recovery, like in case they have crash, okay, and also, we will have a topic like about the backup recovery and then some security part. So when we talk about data security, so we need to consider one thing is about like how can we protect its data like from theft or like some malicious destruction, deliberate like attempts, so they can like only change to the data. So how can we avoid the change of the data? Okay, if they can, you may be thinking, okay, of course it's impossible nowadays, okay, but maybe long time ago, so maybe in the bank, okay, so how can they change their bank account balance? It's possible when I send the request to it and then maybe add um 10 million 1 billion like this. Okay. So how can we check? Okay. Of course, we do have some mechanism or like, do they have a right to do that? Okay. So permission, right? And then like, do we have some like checking? Okay. So all this. Also the privacy. So how can we ensure, okay, some maybe some employee or like who have a right to access to the company data or like given some access to specific data, so they need to work. So maybe like role based, okay, maybe their position, okay. So all this, so we have to consider setting or maybe the right, okay, maybe for database administrator have a highest rate, and um, then maybe for other user have a lowest priority, so or giving low permission. So we have to consider when you do. And then also we have the thing about the backup and recovery. Okay, so all the data, especially we save it right now, no matter it's like physically or digitally. Okay, so digitally maybe the hard drive, okay, have certain damage or like maybe crash. Okay, then how can we prepare for it? What's the ability to reconstruct the data? So if we lost or corrupt, okay. So sometimes we do have some like hardware failure. Okay, it's possible. And then even more um, unpreventable may some be the natural disaster. Okay. So if there's an earthquake, tornado, okay, all this, and then we even lost the data center, lost the whole um, the hard drive, then what can we do? Like how can we recover it? And then move on, we do need to consider one thing is called the data accuracy. Okay, so if we have the same data, they store it right in several, or sometimes we put it in many times. Okay, so within a company information. So most of the time it happens that if a new application is written and the new data files create storage data, those data may be like being duplicated, okay, within a single file and then across the file too. So the most easy way is that, okay, when I read it and somebody write it, okay, so which one is the latest copy? So what's the accuracy? Okay, if I read the data and somebody write the data, okay, so that means I'm not getting the correct one, okay, or I read it first and then, or like I have to read the written one, or I should like keep the copy like before it being written. Okay, so here's the things. So we have to consider. So and then we need to also thinking like because data is a cooperative resources. Here's a key thing because we talk like read and write, right? So because all those like data, so they are corporate resources we have to manage. So it makes more like challenging, difficult to do it. Okay. Tremendous volume. We have tremendous volume, billions and trillions. Okay. So all these are individual piece of data. And then all these each pieces of data, they are different from the next one. Okay. So how can we to manage it well? So we do have thing about that. We need a new kind of like software or helping required to help to manage of this data so progressively so fast hardware. We always need a hardware like faster so to keep our increasing volume of data access demands all this. So for our data management specialists, so they need to like be developed and educated. So this will need to think. And here back to like we heard a lot about the one is called the database environment is the DBMS. Okay, database management system, DBMS. Okay, and we have them like new personnel, let's say the database administrator, data management specialist. Okay, and then the fast hardware, and also a massive data storage facility. All these like because we starting have the managed system. Okay, so that's what we see right now. Maybe the MySQL we're using right now, right? And as a popular, and all this the environment it encourage one thing is the data sharing. Okay, and then it can help the control data redundancy. Okay, and of course later when we are learning how to create a database, then we also need to like prevent the redundancy or lower the redundancy. Okay, and also we have some like it gives a really important improvements of data accuracy too. Okay, so we have now when we work on the database, okay, later so we're designing the table. So how can we prevent the redundancy? Okay, so we need to think about that, and then also the premise storage of vast volume of data. So with like accessible like access all this. So this the environment like DBMS that can be given. Okay, it provided. And also one of the key thing we learn is about the query. So it allows the database query. Okay, and so that's why it give the two like to control. One is the security, privacy, backup and recovery. Okay, so that's why we look at the RD DBMS is a MySQL. So we take it as an example. And so far, quickly we already go through all this content and introduce was data, okay, database and DBMS, and then what kind of like importance of like DBMS, okay. In the next we move on will be we have the lab mainly I already mentioned in our first day on Tuesday. So we will work on using MySQL Workbench. Okay, so I already post the link. So depends on your device, on your Mac, also or maybe on Windows. Okay, and if you want to try, then you can have a VM server and then install MySQL. So all this way you can do it by yourself. And also I will give you some instruction, okay, for next week. If some student has some difficulty, I know like even with the web programming together, so we can arrange that day. Suppose I know will be that next week on Thursday. Okay, so I will helping the student work on the installation. So if some student also have some problem like installing the database, then you may come and to the class and we can like work on it together. Okay. I would like to share one thing like information. Because when we talk about database and data, okay. So actually there are different types. So I just want to give you a really quick image. Okay, so want to show you. So we're learning called a relational database. There's learning, but actually there's more. So including some like we call the key value type database, or some like called the document base. Okay, and or a graph. Okay, right column and in memory, time series, object oriented. Actually, it's really close of the between the relational and the object world. oriented. And also we do have some like test search spectral, like Bob or Ladder, hierarchical, and some vector and background. Especially nowadays because we have like different type of as a different application, we generate different type of data. So that's why like we have different type of database to giving a better way to access, control. Okay, is the idea. And I would like to share one more thing. Let you know later I will upload for the next week is the database file. So I will upload to a server. Um, you will see right here, it will have some instruction including the create tables, insert data. So most of them will be this command line. We will base on this one for doing the assignment, example, demonstration. Okay, you do. And of course, later I will give you more um, um, other tables. Okay, so or database. So because later you not only like access those files, but also maybe you need joining table, create a new one. Okay, so just let you know earlier. Okay, maybe in this moment you don't know or you have no idea like what is like the query doing, and why not just like if you're interested you can check it. It's so easy once you get the file. Okay, so if you want to see the structure you can just open it. Okay, so you see it's a SQL, and then if I put it to the text editor so you can see all the queries right here. Okay, and I would like to share as a last part, I would like to share um, even in learning database, we do have specific, if you remember, we talked about position, right? Database administrator, okay, and database specialist. Okay, so over here. So if you're curious about like what's the SQL database administrator or something, I believe there will be more is like NoSQL. So for administrator, including there's some like tasks or responsibilities. Okay, so they need to do always they need to like operation or maintenance. So you're keeping so we including a backup patch update. Okay, so suppose if they are not new startup, most of the database already like set up. So what you need to do is like maintain. Okay, and then about security. Okay, so we talk about security. Okay, backup and support. Okay, and what they're looking for like qualification. So including like computer science major, okay, have a bachelor degree, have some like experience about database administration, including Oracle, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, okay, like this. And we have something like database. This one will be specific about the Oracle, so you can see, and then it also have some qualification they may be looking for. So if you're interested, I know for database also you can get the certificate, but as I needed, you can see right here, maybe also disaster recovery. So they are really concerned is recovery. There's a keyword we will learn about that, but one is integrity, confidentiality right here. Later in the lecture we will talk about it. Okay, so how we maintain. Okay, and also there's a more. If you're interested, then you can check. Okay, and if you look at the requirement and then what's the responsibility, then you have a better picture. So know okay for this position, even for database administrator also can um have its own task. Okay, so you can check. And so far will be that's it for our first week introduction to the database. Okay, and I will upload the file made available for next week lab. So and give you some instruction. Okay, don't worry about that. And maybe because I saw some student try to attend the Zoom like in the class time, because I remember in the discussion in the lecture day I said that I will post a video later. Okay, so that's why I didn't attend it. Okay, and it will always available if student if you want to discuss, and also I check the video. Okay, so if you are grouping together discuss, and I will check your record videos. Okay, if you have some question discussion, Okay, so I will see. Okay, I think it may be a good way too. Okay, but I will doing in this way will be in the lecture part I will record it in any time and then upload it, and it will be available on D2L, and also I will upload it to YouTube so you can watch it. So you can find the videos maybe like every weekend or Sunday, then it should be available. Okay, thank you.